The only minority destroying America is the billionaires. Trans people are 1% of the population. Muslims are 1% of the population. Undocumented people are 1% of the population. We are focused on the wrong 1%. Trans people aren't taking away our health care. Muslims aren't defunding our schools. Immigrants aren't cutting taxes for themselves and their rich friends. It's the billionaires and their puppet politicians. The culture wars are a smokescreen. So many of the divisions in this state and in this country are manufactured by billionaires who want us fighting each other instead of fighting them. They want us looking left and right at our neighbors instead of looking up at them. The biggest divide in our politics is not left versus right, it's top versus bottom.
James Talarico is getting harder for Texas Republicans to ignore. He's gaining popularity, in no small part thanks to Donald Trump's FCC and regime-friendly CBS trying to shut down his interview on Stephen Colbert's show, and he's growing a following outside the state as well.
And if they're not afraid of James Talarico, they probably should be. Because Talarico is what I call a narrative breaker. You know, James Talarico is like those baristas that dress up like frogs and do the running man in front of ICE agents in Portland, you know, which, side note, what a time to be alive. But also, hear me out, I'm just saying, like, you know, like MAGAs with Portland, you know, they hear that Antifa super commandos are terrorizing law enforcement agents, and they see the actual footage, and it's like, this terrorism seems awful silly. Doesn't seem all that dangerous. It breaks the narrative, right? Well, the same way they hear about Democrats and baby eating and sodomy and all this, you know, about Democrat politicians. But then they see an interview with James Talarico, and he's like TikTok Mr. Rogers. You know, he's just on there talking about loving thy neighbor and banding together, and he's just praising the hell out of the Lord, you know, and it just seems like maybe he can start to reach these people. Maybe they'll listen to him, because vitally, crucially, he is in almost every other way just like them. And trust me, these people, hardcore Christian conservatives, they ain't gonna listen to nobody that ain't just like them.
And that might be what bothers GOP politicians so much. Talarico appears to actually be all the things that conservatives just always pretend to be. Jesus-loving, family values-oriented, someone who wants to help out the little guy. Except he's the real deal, and Texans are starting to wake up and see it. And they also see that their options on the Republican side absolutely suck. Their likely nominee, Ken Paxton, is a radical, corrupt adulterer. And then you have TikTok Mr. Rogers as a seemingly great alternative. And by the way, Jasmine Crockett has also developed quite a following.
So let me tell you, my radical ideas obviously are to benefit everybody.
That's right.
I don't think it's radical to say that people should be able to afford a home in this country.
Yes.
I don't think it's radical to say that people should have access not only to a good paying job, but one that makes sure they are going to be safe.
That's right.
I don't have radical ideas.
That's right.
As a civil rights lawyer, I have really kind of like basic ideas. And frankly, anybody that wants better in their lives, no matter if they consider themselves a Democrat or a Republican or an independent, then they are welcome here. But I am not going to compromise my values and pretend like I need to bend the knee to rich folk.
Today, lacking recent polling, I can't tell you who I expect to actually win between the two. They both have their benefits, their upside. Talarico is certainly closer to my own personal politics, and he did recently have that boost from the Stephen Colbert incident. Jasmine Crockett, of course, has been a national name for a few years and is very good at generating enthusiasm and support. Thankfully, though, we'll know in just a little bit more than a week. But what I do know is that Texas has been on the cusp now for multiple election cycles of flipping. Democrats have come incredibly close multiple times with Ted Cruz and Colin Allred, Beto O'Rourke and Greg Abbott. There is nothing inevitable about Texas turning purple, let alone blue. But all the signs are there that it remains a possibility. And with the right candidate who can communicate in the right way, anything is possible.